Hello to all our dear followers. Today I'd like to share with you a simple yet deeply touching story. The story of Tony, a little boy only 3 years old who has already begun to feel the profound layers of family love. Tony doesn't just have one father in his life. He has two, Dad Du and Dad Hung. These two men, though coming from different paths, have met at the same destination, a place filled with genuine love for one child. For us, those who are following this journey, perhaps we can also see in it the values that are sometimes easily forgotten amidst the hustle and bustle of life, understanding forgiveness, and above all, the magical power of familial bonds. Blood ties don't always make a family. Sometimes a family begins with a heart that truly knows how to love, and a hand that's always there at the right moment. And if you, the one reading these lines, can feel the warmth in every action, every glance, every simple yet sincere moment, then let us know. A like or a channel subscription isn't just support, it's also encouragement. Helping the journey of Hoai Ca Tony and his two dads continue to be shared with love and authenticity because of the malicious schemes hidden behind the gentle facade of a cruel mother. Hung's life fell into dark and painful days. Debts came from nowhere, and debt collectors harassed him day and night, leaving Hung with no moment of peace. Every step he took was filled with calculations and fears, not just for himself, but more so for the future of Tony, the innocent child, being swept up in the whirlwind of life. In the depths of despair, with no one left to turn, to Hung thought of Du, the man who once held a very special place in his life in Hoai Ca's heart, and who shared a blood bond with Tony. Despite the misunderstandings and the unspoken distance between them deep down, Hung still believed that Du would not turn his back on him in a moment of need. That afternoon, the sky was overcast, and the air felt still, mirroring each step Hung took toward Du's house. Standing before the familiar gate, his heart pounded, betraying his hesitation and doubt. But then, summoning every last ounce of courage, he knocked. Du opened the door, a look of surprise mixed with concern appearing on his face. After a few polite greetings, Hung gently asked about Du's health, his recent work, and small trivial matters, as if to buy time to prepare for the real reason he had come. But Du seemed to sense something in Hung's eyes, and he invited him in, poured a cup of hot tea, and waited. Without beating around the bush any longer, Hung took a deep breath and slowly said, "I came here to ask for your help. My house is being seized by the bank, and the debt collectors won't leave me alone. I need a large sum of money to redeem the house. I just want Tony to have a place to come home to. I'll pay you back little by little, no matter what it takes." Du froze. He hadn't realized how dire Hung's situation was. Silently, he got up, went into a room, rummaged through an old drawer, and returned with a small envelope. "I don't have much, just this. It's the savings I've set aside over the years for emergencies. But if you need it now, I can't just stand by." Hung took it, his hands trembling. He knew this was everything Du could offer at that moment. He was speechless, only able to bow his head and repeatedly say, "Thank you. I truly appreciate it. I'll try to manage the rest." Du sat down again, his eyes suddenly serious. Then gently he said, "Hung, there's something I need to tell you. Recently, Hoai Ca told me Tony is my son." Not as surprised as Du had expected, Hung simply nodded and replied calmly, "I've known for a long time, but that was Hoai Ca's decision. She had her reasons for keeping it from you. I just hope you won't do anything to hurt her or the child." Du was silent for a long moment, then slowly nodded. His words came from the depths of his heart. "I don't blame Hoai Ca, and I don't intend to take anything away. I just want to be present in Tony's life, just to visit, to talk to him, to see him grow day by day. That alone would be enough for me." Hung looked into Do's eyes and saw the quiet sincerity in every word. There were no tears, but the emotion was clear in their eyes, in their slow, steady breaths. One was the man who had raised Tony all these years. The other was the biological father who had once been denied the chance to be a dad. After a brief silence, Hung nodded. "If you've truly changed, if those feelings are real, then I agree. You can visit Tony at school, but please don't tell him anything too soon. Let everything happen naturally." Du smiled without saying another word, stood up, and grabbed his motorbike keys. Hung followed. The two men got on the bike. No further words were exchanged, but both could feel that a significant turning point had arrived. The motorbike turned onto a familiar road, leading toward the small school where Tony was studying. Tony was the first to spot Hung. The little boy dashed over and wrapped his tiny arms tightly around his father. Hung bent down to embrace his son, feeling the warmth radiating from the child's small body. Du stood at a respectful distance, not intruding on that sacred connection. But his eyes never left the boy for a single second. After that joyful moment, Hung introduced Du's presence with a simple gesture and a meaningful glance. Tony, with the innocent sensitivity of a child, didn't show any hesitation. Instead, he seemed to welcome Du naturally, as if he had always been part of his world. Beneath the shade of a tree, the three of them sat together on a stone bench beside a small pile of toys Tony had brought from class. The boy excitedly began building with colorful puzzle pieces, his little hands moving quickly. Hung and Du sat quietly watching him, then slowly joined in, each taking a side, gently offering help, occasionally handing Tony missing pieces to complete his masterpiece. No one said much, but in every small gesture, a bowed head, a tender look, a loving pat on the head, an invisible bond formed between the three. Words weren't needed to understand one another. Everything was clear in their eyes, their breath, and in these rare peaceful moments carved out from the chaos of life. Du began telling Tony a story, using his hands to act it out. His fingers transformed into animals. A dry leaf became a boat. A small stone turned into hidden treasure buried in a magical forest. Tony was thrilled, his eyes sparkling, clapping his hands with joy. Hung sat beside him, his gaze never leaving his son's face, so full of innocence, something he once feared Tony might lose amid life's storms. Those moments passed by gently and quietly. There was no need for noise, no need for many words, just three people treasuring a precious moment in which a child was being loved by two fathers. Each man bore his own pain, his own past, but shared the same love. Tony suddenly looked at the two men, his eyes full of questions, perhaps sensing a difference, yet not finding anything strange. He didn't know the exact name for this bond, but his tender heart clearly felt the genuine love surrounding him. Before class ended, the teacher called Tony back inside. The boy reluctantly left the two men, but turned back to wave his smile still beaming. That tiny wave made Doe's heart ache, while Hung felt something inside him ease, as if, at last, some of the burden he had carried could finally be shared. Once Tony had disappeared behind the classroom door, Hung and Doe remained standing there. No words were exchanged, yet the silence wasn't heavy. On the contrary, it was filled with acceptance, understanding, and an unspoken promise from this moment on, no matter what, they would protect this child's happiness together. Fatherhood, whether it comes early or late, is a sacred bond that cannot be broken. And on that sunny afternoon in the schoolyard, a 3-year-old boy unknowingly helped two men find each other not as rivals, but as shared pillars of strength for one small soul. If you're reading these words, take a moment to let them sink in. Not everyone has two fathers, but Tony does. And the beautiful thing is both of them love him in the most honest way a human heart can offer.
Không ai nói gì nhiều, nhưng những cử chỉ nhỏ, một cái cúi đầu, một ánh mắt chìm mấy, một khóa cái xa đầu, đầy yêu thương đã tạo nên một sợi dây vô hình kết nối ba con người. Họ không cần lời nói để hiểu nhau, tất cả đều hiện lên rõ ràng qua ánh nhìn, qua hơi thở và những phút giây bình yên hiếm hoi giữa bộn bề cuộc sống. Do bắt đầu kể cho Tony một câu chuyện bằng những hành động minh họa. Bàn tay anh tạo ra những hình con vật, chiếc lá khô trở thành con thuyền, tinh sỏi nhỏ hóa thành kho báu tương đối trong khu rừng thần tiên. Tony thích thú, mắt sáng rực vỗ tay không ngừng, ngồi cạnh ánh mắt anh không được ở gương mặt con trai. Lúc này mình tràn đầy sự hồn nhiên khiến mà tinh thần sợ rằng Tony sẽ dần mất đi giữa sóng gió cuộc đời. Những giây phút ấy trôi qua, những sự giản dị và thanh bình, không cần ồn ào, không cần quá nhiều lời, chỉ là ba con người đang tận hưởng thời khắc quý giá, nơi một đứa trẻ được yêu thương của hai người đàn ông, hai người bố, có người mang một nỗi niềm, một quá khứ riêng, nhưng chung một tình cảm. Tony bất chợt nhìn cả hai, ánh mắt như muốn nói gì đó, thể hiện các cảm nhận về sự khác biệt, nhưng không thấy điều gì lạ lắm. Cậu bé không biết tên gọi chính xác của mối liên hệ này, nhưng trái tim non nớt của cậu lại thấu rõ tình cảm chân thành đang hiện ra mình. Trước khi giờ kết thúc, Tony được cô giáo gọi vào lớp. Cậu bé rất rời khỏi hai tay người đàn ông, nhưng vẫn không quên lại vẫy tay, nhỏ nhìn nụ cười trên môi, vẫy tay nhỏ xíu. Thấy khiến trái tim đô thắt lại, còn mình cũng cảm thấy lòng mình dịu đi, như thể sau tất cả những gánh nặng anh mang cũng có thể san sẻ đôi phần.